Have you ever dreamed of leaving it all behind and romanticizing your life by moving into a National Trust property? We did exactly that by creating a reading, knitting and writing retreat of our dreams at Blickling Estate in Norfolk. Myself and 2 friends rented the old dairy house on the estate grounds and cleared our diaries for a weekend of relaxing and creative activities. I'm also in the process of writing a non-fiction book, which is a literary travel guide to the UK and Ireland, so this is the perfect place to get inspired. We arrived here yesterday, but we're about to go into the estate for the first time, and I can't wait to see what it looks like inside. Also, one of my creative goals for the year was to teach a lot of people how to knit and crochet, and Lex knows a little bit of crocheting, and Lucy has never done any crocheting or knitting before, so I'm going to help Lex and teach Lucy and see how it goes while I knit my own stuff. When you're staying on the grounds, you get free entrance to the estate and the garden, so of course we had to go check that out. I really love the architecture on the outside and the really long, like super symmetrical walkway that takes you to the building. And of course we had to take some photos on the bridge. This is a Jacobean mansion and it was built in the 1600s by Sir Henry Hobart. It's believed that Anne Boleyn was born in a building that was in the exact same spot before this building was built, though apparently there is no solid proof for this. Inside, there was this one room that had a beautiful painted ceiling that was boarded over for a really long time and then rediscovered after there was water damage. They had to take some of the boards down and found this beautiful ceiling, and there was also a really lovely vintage radio playing in the background, which really helped with the atmosphere. In the 1740s, Blickling's long gallery was converted into a stunning library after the owner received a large book collection, but unfortunately we discovered on the day that it was closed. I think they were doing renovation work and we were definitely a little bit heartbroken. When they have it set up like this, because you can just be like, I'm delusional, this is me in my kitchen. I love to be delusional, it makes me happy.
I'm like, I'd love a natural shot of everyone hanging out and I turn
without
around
cameras.
But I'm trying to film too. So
Yeah.
Had a delicious jack potato, which was my only dream, and a disappointing bap for...
I've got mustard on my face.
We loved seeing like the little temple and the orangery as we walked all the way around the grounds. I bet this is even more beautiful in spring, but we really liked the wintry vibes. I think we talked about the secret history and Brideshead Revisited as we walked around. A squirrel just ran by. We're back at the cottage, and let me give you a quick National Trust haul. I realized we had nothing to put in our yogurt, so I bought this Black Bee British Autumn honey. You get a 10% discount when you're staying here. I bought this Hive Mind sparkling honey and elderflower mead. I've never tried mead before, so that's for tonight. I got 2 little prints at the secondhand bookshop that'll be easy to carry home. I got these Jane Eyre themed stamps from 2005, a true vintage. If you know me, you know I love the Brontes, so Lucy found this for me. And then I got this little print of an old lady meeting a fairy, which I thought was so cute. I'm about to go back to the cafe and get some scone and butter pudding, like bread and butter pudding, but it's old scones, I guess. We'll see, with custard. Very excited about that. I'm going to bring this book, which is the first book I'm reading on the trip. I also brought it all the way to Japan to read, and I read a little bit of it, but I read some of it in Kyoto, I think. It is The Factory. I think it's very appropriate because I am currently watching Severance, just rewatched all of season 1, and I'm up to like the latest episode that's out. And this is also about people working in this like really big company. They're all starting their jobs and they seem a bit like meaningless. They're not like they're just desperately looking for a job, and then when they start the job they find it a bit weird. They're all doing different tasks. One of them is like copy editing stuff that keeps coming back and like none of the changes have been made, and then another person is just like destroying paper. I read about 30 pages yesterday. I'm definitely getting into more books about sort of weird trippy office type books. I'm gonna go to the National Trust Cafe. We had a jack potato earlier and it was great, and read my book for a bit.
Look, there's a knot further down. I'm so annoyed. Oh, I'm a genius. Everything's fine. I love life. Don't worry about it. It's upside down. Wow.
Yeah. On Sunday, we went for a walk in the Blickling Great Wood. This area is just open for anyone to walk, and it goes all the way around the estate. This pyramid mausoleum was certainly a sight to behold. One of my favourite moments from the weekend was that for some reason during one of the evenings poetry came up, and we all love us a bit of the romantic poets. Lucy wrote her dissertation on them, and Lex has used them in their book Reputation, and I was including them in multiple chapters of my book, and we ended up reciting some of our favourites and having a little impromptu poetry evening. So at this point, Lex was doing a Wool and the Gang granny stitch vest, which had some very complicated instructions, but they made good progress. And Lucy had moved on to learning how to purl, and I finished the Sophie scarf for Lex and did some writing research. We're going for a little wander because we've been inside for too long, and Lex has gone insane from crocheting.
I think my brain is now just made up of little crochet links instead of whatever was there before.
And that's the goal, but we need a little break. So.
Yeah.
That was where our cottage was. That's Blickling Estate, and then let me show you where the pub is right next door. The pub on the grounds was really good. We went there a few times for drinks, and then we had dinner there. They served us so much food. It was really cozy, but there was also a plaque that tells you the story of how Anne Boleyn haunts the grounds. So apparently around May 19th, which is the date that she got beheaded, she arrives with her chopped off head on her lap in a coach driven by a headless horseman and 5 headless horses, and she roams the hallways of the estate, but she also shows up in front of the pub. So late in the evening when we were walking to the pub and it was absolutely pitch black, there were no lights, we only had our torches, and it was misty. It was very atmospheric to have that story in the back of our minds, although I think some of us were more scared and less amused. Yesterday I was working on the Edinburgh chapter of the literary travel guide book. It was really fun. It was the furthest I'd come with the chapter so far. I already figured out most of the reading recommendations of like what you should read when you're in Edinburgh, but yesterday I was writing the introduction about the city and trying to find like all the plaques and statues and other places you should visit when you're there. And the next up I'll be working on the best places to read in Edinburgh. And now it's time for us to go home, but there's still 4 hours of travel left, so plenty of reading to be done. We had such a wonderful time. I did a lot of like legwork for the Edinburgh chapter, and it was nice just bouncing ideas off each other. I was reading Longbourn and really enjoying it. Like I probably read it on the train for about 3 hours, so I'm gonna keep going with that. Anyway, here's my knitting / crocheting update. As you might have seen earlier in the video, Lex made really good progress on the Wool and the Gang crochet vest. Did a bunch of rows in different colors and was like perfectly set up to continue basically. As we speak, I don't think it's quite finished yet, but I do know that they've made a lot of progress. Then let's see how Lucy did. So she was starting from scratch with knitting, and by the end of the weekend was able to do knitting, purling, and even some ribbing. And once she got home, she immediately made an entire baby blanket from Wool and the Gang in moss stitch. I am on a not so secret mission to teach all of my friends how to knit, and I'd love to eventually teach knitting to other people as well. It is just so fulfilling to see people get the knitting bug and then see them immediately launch into a new project. So yes, very proud of both of them. So I finished the Sophie scarf for Lex, and Lex got to wear it on the trip, which was really nice. It was a belated Christmas present. Then I picked, I'm just undoing it as I'm talking about it. I picked this project back up, which is like a little net bag. Now, I already used bigger yarn than the person who made the pattern. The pattern is impeccable. It has photo examples for everything. Like, it is so well done. But sometimes I forget that even with accessories, you need to kind of look at how it looks on your body, like size-wise. I wanted it to be kind of like oversized beach bag style. On me, it's definitely just like a tote size, which is fine. It was also getting really long, so I decided to undo a few rows, and I'm doing the handle now. It's gonna be like a long handle, but I'm back on track with that. And then tomorrow I'm going to a knitting workshop at Knit With Me in Richmond, and I thought I would take you along for that as well and then end the video there. And I have been practicing for this workshop for the last few weeks. Because it is a color work workshop, so you're learning to combine Fair Isle, which is knitting with 2 colors, where you continuously take like both colors of yarn with you, and then learning how to combine that with Intarsia, which I have never done. And it's, I think, more of like a stopping and starting and like color block situation. I'm learning how to make the scout shawl, and I spent the weekend when my parents were here for my birthday just looking for the right yarn. I had some birthday money. Yarn's very expensive, and so I thought that is definitely what I'm spending like my aunt, my grandma, and my parents' birthday money on. I got this beautiful yarn. It's mostly Madeline Tosh yarn, and then one from Lichen and Lace and one from La Bien Aimée Merino. The vibe I'm going for is medieval tapestry. I want it so that the pattern is a bit more modern, but I want it to look more old-fashioned, so that's what I'm going for. Colors like this. I need to turn these into balls to bring with me tomorrow, and tonight we're going to the Natural History Museum late for Valentine's Day. I already did a Galentine's with friends yesterday, and I brought one of these with me and was just turning it into a ball while we were chatting, because why not? So I've got these 2 to do still. Here's the other color that I have, and then I have a nice green and a white. I'm still not sure about the white. I think the white and the red become a bit Christmassy, but maybe I can play around with the colors. I have a tiny sample of what I've done so far. This is one of the actual patterns that's in the shawl. So yeah, it looks like this. Up until a month ago, I had never done color work before, but I knew that if I signed up for this course and you need to go into it knowing how to do color work, I was like, this will be a really good motivation to learn. But I need to go through the entire pattern as well. Maybe I'll do that on the train tonight or something, because obviously I want to be able to ask questions during the workshop. Let's see how the next 24 hours go. Okay, so I've just come out of the class, so I thought I'd film my reaction. I trained myself to the right level, like I learned how to do basic color work, so I wasn't behind too much, even though I'm really new to it. And I feel that now I could confidently make the shawl, which is great. Florence was lovely, all the knitters are lovely, so big success. And it's just a nice ending to a creative week, learning lots of new stuff. Very good. And thanks for coming along.